the different items that you need to consider in your year-end tax reporting with your W-2s and 1099s, as well as the few of the changes that are coming up for 2017. Take a look at your year-end processing schedule. Make sure you know when the tax tables need to be updated for 2017. Talk about the IRS updates. I have most of the payroll information that's been updated for 2017. We're still waiting on some information, but most of the information has been received, and we'll go through that. The state minimum wage, if you have employees in Michigan and you're near that minimum wage, then you need to look and see, because on January 1st, 2017, that goes up to $8.90. The state of Michigan minimum wage for 2016 was $8.50. The federal minimum wage is still at $7.25. So we need to make sure you look at that. If you have any employees that are near hourly minimum wage amount, that will be $8.90. And then right now, as projected, it will go up in January 2018 to the $9.95. So we'll see as time goes along. The reporting for the Health Care Act, any Affordable Care Act requires employers. So this is the group that's over 250. So if you have more than 250, then you need to record the employer-sponsored group health plan, Box 12, Code DD. So that was supposed to have been reduced to lower numbers, but there really has not been any change yet with that. The amount that goes in Box 12, Code DD includes both the employee paid and the employer paid premiums. Again, currently right now, this is for informational purposes only, and we know for 2017 there will be, I imagine, some changes to this Health Care Act and Obamacare, and so we'll just wait to see what those changes will be with legislature changing here after the election. The PATH Act, a few highlights on the changes here, and the PATH Act is protecting Americans from tax hikes. This was back in December of 2015, and it extended any tax provisions that expired at the end of 2014. But there's some payroll items that were included in this PATH Act, and one of those items is that there's an earlier deadline for filing W-2s, an accelerated deadline. As you know, all the W-2s need to be to employees by January 31st, and that hasn't changed. But now the government copy needs to be submitted to the Social Security Administration by January 31st, 2017. So that's been moved up, and also with the Form 1099 miscellaneous, that deadline has been moved up as well. If you have any numbers in Box 7, which is the self-employment income box, we'll talk about that later as well, then those 1099s are due also to the IRS by January 31st, 2017. Part of that is to help with the tax fraud that's happening, and they want to be able to verify information that's on the individual's tax returns sooner. There's also a safe harbor from penalties for small dollar errors. So if you have any errors, then if the error was $100 or less, or $25 or less for errors involving tax withholdings, then you're not required to file a corrected return. So that's a quite small threshold, but that is available to not have to do corrected forms. Also, the federal government's been talking about requiring employers to use truncated Social Security numbers on W-2 forms. And again, this has not gone into effect yet. There's still discussion regarding that. The other item that I had to note, and that's not in your handouts yet, there was going to be a lower filing threshold, electronically filing W-2s, and currently that still is at 250, so 250 or more W-2s you have to electronically file. There was a proposal to reduce that and phase that in so that it would go to 5. If you had more than 5 W-2s, you need to file electronically. Again, that's hasn't. They're just talking about that still, and again, it's delayed in Congress. Also, there's a discussion of filing W-2s on a quarterly basis, and we'll see where that is, but that's still in discussion, and there's a budget proposal for that. Okay, next we'll go into the annual changes. the Social Security wage base and tax rates. The Social Security wage base amounts for 2016 was $118,500, and the tax rate has not changed. It's still at 6.2%. For 2017, the Social Security wage base goes up to $127,200. So it's quite a significant increase. So the tax rate still is at 6.2%. And so there'll be the maximum amount if you're at the $127,200 total Social Security tax for the employee would be $7,887.40. There is also discussion in Congress about Save Our Social Security Act of 2016, and this would increase Social Security wage base significantly. So they are looking at possible projection in 2018 for it to go up to $194,000. 2019 could be $232,000, and in 2020 $270,000. So they're looking at some significant increases. We know that there's going to be more people that are retiring. Retirement age is increasing, and so they're trying to look ahead and see how do we need to pay for that. So we'll keep a watch on that, but those are just kind of some projection numbers. Nothing's really been enacted on that yet. The Medicare tax rate stays at 1.45%, and that's on unlimited earnings. You need to pay the 1.5%. The Medicare tax on wages over $200,000 is you have to charge an additional or deduct additional 0.9% from the employee. That's an employee withholding only. There's not an employer match to that 0.9%. So on wages over $200,000, you have to withhold from the employee an additional 0.9%. The 401k, 403b amounts are staying the same. So for 2016, they're $18,000, with the catch-up if you're over age 50 at $6,000, and for 2017, that will stay the same. And for the simple plan, if you have a simple plan, the amount is $12,500 for 2016, and for 2017, that remains the same. The simple plan catch-up is $3,000 when you're over age 50. Now, the one piece of information that we don't have yet are the automobile rates, and those, we're still waiting for those. We're still waiting to hear from those. For 2016, the business rate was 54 cents. The charitable activities was 14 cents, and the relocation and medical related were 19 cents. There is a bill in legislature right now that is trying to equalize the charitable mileage. The charitable mileage has been at 14 cents for quite a while, and that was written into to a bill, and so therefore it takes the act of Congress to change that. There is a proposal out there that would make the standard mileage rate for charitable contributions equal to the rate set by IRS for medical and moving expenses. So we'll see what happens there, but they're trying to have the charitable activities the same rate as relocation medical related, and then have that changing or indexed by IRS each year. Okay, over on the next page is just where you can get information. There's different websites and telephone numbers. A lot of good information is on the internet and available there. Publication 15, just want to remind everybody of the Circular E. This is where you can find valuable information on, who is an employee. How do you determine if they're an employee or independent contractor? So this gives you good definitions of who employees are. It also talks about the payroll tax filings that you need to make, filing Form 941, 944, federal unemployment taxes, and what are the guides to withholding from employees' wages, and a lot of good information. Tax tables are in this publication as well. Publication 15A. Publication 15A goes into even more detail about who are employees and who are independent contractors. talks about employees of exempt organizations. It'll give you information about sick pay reporting, as well as your retirement plans and pensions information. It's really important to know whether you have an employee or an independent contractor situation. If you have an independent contractor, you really need to make sure that you do have a contract that's been written up and signed by everybody. That really helps to prove that that person is an independent contractor. All the different government agencies, even IRS and your state of employment and Department of Labor and such, all are working together. And in their audits they will share that information with each other. And so if you've got somebody that's you're paying as an independent contractor that they determine should be an employee, then the company will be responsible for back taxes, as well as any penalties for late payment of those taxes. So there's a lot more audits regarding that, so you want to make sure that you have proper documentation, understanding of independent contractors. Application 15D, this is the Employer Tax Guide to Fringe Benefits. Really important publication for this time of year and to refer to. Some of these fringe benefits are dependent care assistance, group term life insurance coverage, health savings accounts, moving expense reimbursements, of course all your personal use of auto calculations and such. So very helpful publication to refer to. On the next two pages, pages 10 and 11, are the reconciliation forms. On page 11 is the reconciliation form that we use in our department. It's really important to make sure that your each quarter of 941 returns total up and match the totals on your W-2s. If that isn't, if those don't reconcile and the W-2s don't match your 941s, then you'll get a notice 3 years from now that doesn't match, and you have to dig out all your payroll records and figure out why it doesn't match and file corrected returns and such. So these payroll tax reconciliation forms are extremely helpful, and it does prevent those notices from showing up like that. And so we have places on this reconciliation form for your 941s, for your unemployment tax returns, for your state and your federal unemployment, as well as any local tax withholdings and such. So it's a very nice form, and it's in Excel. It's available. If you want me to share that template with you, I'd be willing to, and you can just send me an email and I will return that Excel form back to you for you to use. Reporting and taxation of fringe benefits. With the reporting of fringe benefits, you can have a different benefit year other than one that ends in December. You can have a benefit year that ends in October or a benefit year that ends in November. And having a benefit year that ends in November is extremely helpful, because that allows you to, for example, get the personal use of auto information in December and be able to include that in the December payroll. If your benefit year ended in December, then you're still waiting for that information in January, and makes it more challenging, and you might have some things that you need to add to the payroll, which causes you to have some more payroll tax deposits needed, and so you might have some late payroll tax payments. So I really encourage you to look at having a different benefit plan year for some of these benefits, so that you can get that information early in December and record it on the W-2s. On the supplemental tax rates, the federal rate is 25%, and the state of Michigan supplemental tax rate is 4.25%. Group term life insurance premium rates. Group term life insurance is calculated for any employer-provided group term life insurance that's in excess of $50,000. So the employer can provide $50,000 of group term life insurance, and there's no issues, nothing needs to be reported. But once the employer pays for more than $50,000, then you've got to use this table that is using the employee's age as the last day of the calendar year. And so depending on what bracket they're in, then you'll use that number. And this table is the cost per 1,000 of protection for 1 month. So If you're calculating on an annual basis, you have to multiply by 12 to get that annual number. Or if you're just recording this on a monthly basis on each payroll, then that's fine as well. So this amount will be reported as taxable wages, and group life insurance amount is reported in box 12, code C on the W-2. There is legislation to increase this amount up into the $350,000 range as well, and we look forward to that because there's a lot of work that goes into a very small taxable amount that goes on the W-2s. But right now, it still is at $50,000. So anything over $50,000, we need to calculate the amount to go on the W-2. Next, the Form 8922, and it's the third-party sick pay recap form. And this is if you have a third party that is processing sick pay for employees, and they report the employee taxes withheld, and then they report to you, so that you have to report the employer taxes that need to be paid in. It's kind of a shared responsibility, and so if you have that, you need to file this 8922 to help reconcile the W-2s with the 941s. When you have third-party sick pay, if you can work with the administrator on that and have them do 100% of the reporting, that would be recommended. It might cost a little bit more, but then you don't have all the paperwork that you need to figure out, as well as the provider isn't required to give you the information until the 15th of following the quarter. So January 15th is when the due date is for that, and then you've got to put that on the you got to put the information on the W-2s, as well as you might have some employer taxes that need to pay in. So you're not late on your payroll taxes. You probably need to do an estimate of payroll taxes if you have sick pay reporting, so that those taxes are paid in time, because waiting until the 15th means you'd probably be late in paying those taxes. So look at that if you have third-party sick pay. The next talks about Social Security number verification service, and this is just to remind you that you need to have the correct name matching with the correct Social Security number. So make sure you're looking at the Social Security cards that employees have, and make sure that that information is recorded properly. You can verify that information with Social Security Administration through this number verification service. If you have to file your own W-2s, then it talks about the Accu wage program. That is available for download. The Accu wage program tests your electronic file to make sure that all the numbers in the number fields and the letters in the letter fields, and just to make sure that your file is set up properly so it's not just rejected. Okay, and again, we're talking about the W-4 form. I should have checked to see. I don't know if that is quite available for 2017. It might be out there. You need to notify employees that if they are exempt, if they had exempt withholding during the year, that they need to have a new W-4 in by February 15th to keep their exempt status. Employees cannot just determine that they just can't elect to say I'm not, that I'm exempt. They have to have, the prior year they don't have any taxable income or liability, and they don't anticipate having any taxable liability for the future years. So you just can't decide you're exempt. You also have to not have any tax liability, I guess. Okay, so there's the W-4. W-4 is important to have in the file because that's what you use to determine what kind of tax withholdings to withhold from the employee's paycheck. And that's good to have on file and to show that you're following the employee's instructions. I also have the Michigan W-4. Again, it's just a reminder that the state of Michigan also has a W-4 form to determine how much state withholding needs to be withheld from the paycheck. And then the next is, in this case, is the LW-4. This is the Lansing city. Or if you have other, it's a reminder, if you have other city taxes that you need to withhold from, you need to consider that as well. Next, we have the State of Michigan New Hire Reporting Form, And again, this is just a reminder, when you hire new employees, you have to file this form with the state of Michigan. It must be submitted within 20 days of the hire date. And this form is used to track employees or track people so that they can, if they have any child support that's owed, then the state of Michigan can track that and garnish their wages and such. So it's important to make sure that information is provided to the state of Michigan. Included, these are the Michigan withholding, use, and sales tax forms that are filed either on a monthly or a quarterly basis. And the reason that I'm including these forms because the state of Michigan stopped mailing out forms, and so clients have been going online and trying to use the proper form, but we're finding that some clients haven't been using the proper form. They're now finally, after a year and a half, the state of Michigan is sending out notices, and so clients have been having to refile forms. So just to give you some tips on which form to use, Form 5094 is used if you e-file your tax return and you're paying by a paper check, then you'd use the 5094 form. If you are sending in the paper form and sending in the money, then you'd use the 5080 form. So that's basically the difference, and that's what you really want to kind of make sure that you're doing. We were having people that were paper filing the form and paying with a check using the 5094, and the state of Michigan is not recognizing that form for that purpose, and so therefore we had to go back and file the 5080 form. So make sure you're using the 5080 forms if you're mailing that in on paper, or if you're going through and doing everything online. If you're paying online, then you're probably all set. So just a note of caution there. The Form I-9 form, they have just released the new I-9 form. Now the form expires on August 31st, 2019. So if you're using the I-9 form, the I-9 form determines that the employee can work in the United States, have the proper documents. And so you need to make sure that going forward, any new employees, that you're using the new current I-9 form that has the expiration date on August 31st, 2019 on it. You don't have to reissue it for all your employees. Just going forward, any new employees you hire, you need to have this I-9 form in your file. They just added a few things on it. The additional, the ability to enter in multiple preparers and translators is a section, and also section 1 asks for other last names used rather than just other names used. So just a few minor changes. Again, there is an updated I-9 form finally that is available. The next form, the W-9 form. The W-9 form needs to be in your file for any independent contractors so that you can make sure that you have their proper name and their taxpayer identification number. And so when you get mismatch notices saying that the name does not match the taxpayer identification number, then you can have this W-9 signed copy in your file saying this is what the person gave to you, and that'll help support the information. So, but you still need to get the corrected information from the person, but make sure you have the W-9s in your file. The 941 for 2016, again, there's really not much to say on that. However, we have the 941 for 2017, and there's this one addition to the form, and that's on line 11. There's going to be a qualified small business payroll tax credit for increasing research activities. There'll be a Form 8974, and they're still working on getting that information out to us, but that's going to be important to update your software, so when you file your first quarter 941, that you have your software updated to this new form, because line you got line 11 inserted in there now, and so you got 14 different blanks as opposed to 12 different blanks that you had on the 2016 form. Okay, the next form is a 941X form. Again, this form is used to correct your 941 returns. So usually we don't use this a whole lot because we filed correctly. The biggest thing to watch for on the 941X is the explanation in Part 4. You need to really watch and follow the instructions on the explanation. I've seen where 941Xs have been returned because the explanation does not follow the example that the IRS gives. So that's the tip on the 941X. And now we come to the W-2 form. Again, there hasn't really been any changes from 2015 to 2016 on the W-2 form. A couple tips on the W-2 form is that you want to make sure that your federal taxable wages in Box 1 matches your state taxable wages in Box 16. And if you have local wages, that your local wages match in Box 18. Now, if you have one state and one city, then all those three boxes should match. If you're in multiple states and multiple cities, then the combination of those states and cities should match your federal wages in Box 1. It's really important to understand the differences in your different boxes and make sure you reconcile your wages to know that your federal wages different possibly than your Social Security wages or your Medicare wages, depending on if you have cafeteria plan or not, or if you have a 401k, 403b plan. That's all going to affect the wages in those different boxes. So make sure you reconcile, understand those taxable wages amounts. We also need to make sure that in Box 13 that the retirement plan checkbox is marked if you need to. Again, if the employee is making contributions to the plan or if the employer is making contributions to the plan, then that retirement plan checkbox needs to be marked. For the 2017 W-2, they're going to take and activate Box 9. Box 9 is going to be used for a verification code. This is to help to improve identity theft protections for individuals and business taxpayers. There's been a lot of identity theft or a lot of fraudulent returns that have been being filed, 1040 returns and such. And so having this verification code used should help to, it's going to be a 16-digit code, and the payroll companies or payroll processors or payroll software will be generating that code to be put on there, and then that code will be entered in on 1040 return. The verification code was started by the IRS last year, and there were like 2 million. There will be 2 million W-2s that will have this code on there as they phase this in. In 2017, they're expected to expand that to 50 million. W-2s will have that code available. Yeah, the identity theft for tax returns was totaling more than $4 billion. And so IRS actually stopped 787,000 confirmed identity theft returns, and that totaled $4 billion. But for the same period, I'm not seeing the number right now, but it's quite a large number of fraudulent returns that are filed and the refunds that these people are getting incorrectly. And also the other thing that the IRS is going to be doing is going to be delaying tax refunds, and so they could be delayed after February 15th and later, possibly, depending on what type of 1040 return you're filing. And again, that's to help them verify that the information on the 1040 return has been filed correctly, and so they're going to slow down on the refunds, and they've accelerated the due date of the W-2s to help with all the identity theft and the tax fraud issues. I also wanted to bring to your attention the Box 12 codes on the W-2. And so again, you need to make sure that you're entering in the information in Box 12 with the correct code letter for any fringe benefits or any different tax items that you might have. Some of the more used codes are Code C, which is your group term life insurance, Code D, which is your 401k deferral amount. Code E is your 403b amounts. Another one on code P if you have excludable moving expense reimbursements. Code S is used for the 408 simple plans. And code W will be used for any employer contributions to health savings accounts. And then also code DD is the amount of the cost employer sponsored health coverage amounts as well. So if you're over 250, then you got to use the code DD on if you're providing employer health coverage. So take a look at those box codes, and you can also get information in the W-2 instructions that will help explain those better. Now we have a W-3 form. W-3 form is the transmittal for the W-2s. And again, just a reminder, government copies of the W-2s are needed to be filed by January 31st, 2017. So that's been accelerated, and it's moved up from the February, and if you've electronically filed, the March due date. So next page, we have the 1099 miscellaneous form. Again, just to remind you that if you have any 1099 miscellaneous forms that have a number in box 7 for the non-employee compensation, then those 1099s are due to the individual as well as the IRS by January 31st, 2017. If you have items in other boxes, for box 1 for rents, 2 for any royalty fees, box 3 for any other income, box 14 for gross proceeds paid to attorney, those items, those can be sent in by February 28th if you file on paper, or April 2nd if you file electronically. So watch that non-employee compensation box. There's that accelerated filing. Now if you go online to IRS, but I know that when I was getting information, the IRS links will take you to 2017 forms. Even though you click on 2016, it takes you to 2017. So they've got, they're starting to use January 31st, 2018 dates and such, so they got some of their information that has been updated incorrectly. So just watch what the links are that you're clicking on, and make sure that we've got the right dates and the right forms that you're trying to file. The 1096, and again, that's a transmittal form for the 1099s. Again, if you have your non-employee compensation in box 7, those are due January 31st. The form W-2G, and then this is the form that a lot of nonprofit organizations use to report the raffles and the different prizes that possibly been handed out to, as they do these fundraisers or such. And so this is the form that I'm just reminding people in those nonprofit organizations that this would be the form that you would need to file, the W-2G. The State of Michigan Unemployment Tax Form. This new format has been out for a couple years, and again, just a reminder that the State Unemployment, they have changed the due date. The payment, if you have a payment, it has to be received by the employment office by the due date. It can't be postmarked by the due date. It has to be received by the due date. And so they've been having some issues with the mail and such, and so a lot of government agencies have changed the due date to be, it has to be received by the due date as opposed to being postmarked. So watch that and try and get your tax forms in early before the due date. Also, I just included just the letter that employers were receiving that explains that the state unemployment wage base was lowered to $9,000. However, if you have a balance due, an outstanding assessment of more than $25, then they will increase your wage base to $9,500. So keep an eye on that. Make sure that you don't have an unpaid balance, and you'll have the wage base of $9,000 to use. is the partial instructions here for the Forms 1094C and 1095C. Again, these forms are used for employers with 50 or more full-time employees to report the health insurance information. This information is used then and entered on the employee's tax return to determine if they have to pay an additional amount on their tax return because they don't have health insurance or such. So this is an important form to have filed. The due dates for the ACA has been delayed, so there's now an extended due date. The January 31st, 17th is to issue the forms to individuals for reporting about health care. It has been extended to March 2nd. So the employer and employee copies you have until March 2nd to prepare and to send out those returns. So, and we know that 2017 there's going to be some changes with the Obama health care amounts, and we're just waiting to see how all that changes and such. So those are the updated forms for the accountable for the ACA, the 1094 and the 1095C. Now the remaining information that I had was the Department of Labor and the overtime for white-collar workers rule, and this was supposed to have gone into effect December 1st. However, this is currently now in the court system, and your December 1st deadline has been delayed. I don't know what that means, whether that it's delayed for a period of time yet. They're still addressing this in the court system, and so it's basically just on hold right now. So you need to continue to use the old rules, and so if at $455 a week instead of the $913 a week for calculating overtime pay. So it was the rule was stating that most salaried white-collar workers earning less than $455 a week then weren't subject to the overtime rules. So anyways, I've got two different copies of information on this, and I know a lot of clients were working on updating their payroll and such to be ready for the December 1st, but this has been delayed, and again, we just need to be prepared to know if you have to make it effective, or if it's going to be continued to just be delayed, or be different numbers. So we're just kind of waiting and seeing on what happens with that. Okay, I think that covers most of what I had to talk about. If you have any questions, you can email me your questions. I'll be happy to get back with you on that. I hope it's been interesting. Hope you've gotten some good information from this session, kind of help you know what kind of records that you need to have in your employee files, as well as the different items that you need to consider in your year-end tax reporting with your W-2s and 1099s, as well as the few of the changes that are coming up for 2017. Take a look at your year-end processing schedule when you're out on vacation or holiday. Make sure you know when the tax tables need to be updated for 2017. And I hope you have a wonderful year-end and a wonderful 2017 year. Thank you.